body. Then when somebody say something to him, he don't even supposed to be on the field. Are you ready?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the biggest show in sports.
This isn't Fart Talk Radio or anything. Monday! Brandon Lowe Show 95, the Sports Fox. You're out of work, Charleston. Time to talk some sports. Excited to be here with you today. Oh, what a weekend of football. How about them Mountaineers? Looking good, right? Looking pretty good. 6-0, first time since 2006. First time in Holgers' era in Morgantown. Maybe now national media will pay attention. I still got a lot of flack, though. I posted John Denver's Country Roads on my Facebook. Bobby Johnson went at me. Good, friendly little conversation. Not really go after me, but it was a nice conversation. Matt Locke's in the house. Let's bring that Matlock in.
What is up?
What up, dog? Little Matt Locke's on there.
Yep, it's Monday.
So, you saw the conversation.
Yeah, I did.
Bobby and I.
Yeah, I was like, man, how did John Denver get all the way to this? I mean, but it was good though. I mean, you can definitely learn a lot from the conversation that you guys had. I mean, it's typically on Facebook, it's just that, back and forth, but you guys had a lot of good facts on there.
It was good stuff, man. That's the conversation that swirls around college football right now, is where everybody should be. You got the AP rankings, the coaches poll. Coaches poll didn't really mean anything. It's kind of a gauge where the coaches think these teams should be. AP comes out, West Virginia State had 10, and AP 9 in the coaches poll. All they got to do is keep winning. Baylor moved up to the 8 spot. We'll go over the AP rankings as well. Later on the show, we'll also talk about the Mountaineers' victory against TCU. Obviously, we'll have our breaking news and our Let's Get Weird news. You can call the show 304-344-9704. Take us on the go at 95thesportsfox.com. And you can listen to us, watch us statewide and nationwide over at arsonsports.com as well. Exciting time for the Mountaineers and football. And you got the basketball team ranked second in the preseason polls. So it looks like, for a while, everybody argued about Louisville not get the Big 12 not taking Louisville in that the expansion plans when they took TCU and West Virginia, and everybody talked about how West Virginia didn't bring anything to this conference. And now West Virginia certainly had its struggles. The first year in the Big 12, obviously they had a lot of offense, not a lot of defense, but that's what everybody was talking about. Well, Louisville could have offered this. Well, Louisville was Louisville right now. They haven't been Louisville what we see this year the entire time they joined the ACC. But you got to love what you see on both sides of football with the Mountaineers. Special teams made some plays in this TCU game. Obviously, the field goal kicking, not on par with Josh Lambert, but getting the job done. Molina, a local kid, doesn't have a lot of range, but if you can get the ball inside his range, you're fine. He'll make some field goals. That's the only thing. If it comes down to some last-second shots or you need a field goal to win the game, at the end of the game, it's going to be tough if it comes down to your kicker. But was impressed what I saw on Saturday. Of course, we had some NFL stuff. We'll get to the NFL pick'em stuff, too. So let's go ahead and get to our breaking news.
It's time for breaking news in sports, but it's still sports and news. From the Brandon Lowe Show newsroom, I'm Brandon Lowe, and here's the news and sports. That's still sports and news.
All right, news and sports. Sports is still news. Garth Brooks. Garth was in Charleston this weekend. God, I love Garth Brooks. I really do. Charleston Gazette Mail reports the country music superstar participated in the camp Saturday at West Virginia State University and Institute. Dressed in jeans and a black hoodie, Brooks encouraged camp participants and was on the floor during several drills. About 80 boys and girls ages from 9 to 13 attended the camp. Members of the college men's and basketball team served as counselors. Sports camps are common on Brooks' world tour. He says Saturday's camp will help children learn skills and how to be teammates while enabling the college athletes to give back to the community. It's great stuff. This is the type of stuff that builds character with these kids. Not just the kids, the 9 to 13, but like he said, these student athletes helping out, giving back to the community. This is the type of thing that you make sure that student athletes are getting the full experience and things that they should be involved with. You've heard of guys like Tim Tebow do some things across seas this is the type of stuff that you need your players to get involved with. This teaches you, like I said, some lessons there, life lessons that you can also give back to kids. And I think this is a cool thing with Garth Brooks to do. Brian Poor, the coach of the West Virginia State University men's basketball team, posted some pictures up on his Facebook. It looked like a great time. I wish we would have knew he was over there. We would have headed over there. Where were you at on that, Nick?
Hey, now, hey. I met him the day before. Where were you, Brandon?
I was missing action, apparently. But great stuff, too. You got to like these stars and things coming in town and doing some stuff to give back to the community, because they spend so much money to see these musicians perform. And it's good to see guys like Garth Brooks get into some of these communities and help out and do other things outside of just performing. So, and I heard he put on a hell of a show. So,
oh yeah, of course,
you
right?
got your money's worth, right?
Oh yeah, everybody on my Facebook feed was just blowing up about the great time that they had. So, yeah, Garth, he rocked Charleston, that's for sure.
All right, moving over to let's start with the NFL. I missed 4. Technically, I missed 5 because that Seattle-Arizona game ended in a tie in overtime. It was the lowest scoring game in overtime history, in NFL history, 6-6. First time we've seen a tie, and I think since 72. So, I mean, a tie going in overtime since 72. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what you take from this is just like another kind of facepalm moment for the NFL. Because we talk about these marquee games and games on Sunday night and Monday night not necessarily living up to the hype. And you almost, at this point with the NFL, you almost want to go the college route. College football, they open their schedules with primetime slots and national televised games based off of how well the teams are doing. I know we can't necessarily do a lot of that with the NFL because the NFL has so many contracts and stipulations with all these TV networks. College football does too. But you almost want the NFL to almost do what they do in college athletics. Wait to see what these teams do, then announce them. Of course, this Game of the Week stuff and America's Game of the Week they do on Fox, they kind of pick those as they go. And they kind of do this, but a lot of these, Sunday nights and Monday night games are locked in. So, unfortunately, if those teams or a team or teams aren't doing so well, you don't get, some of these top premier matchups on Sunday night and Monday night and even Thursday night. There's been a lot of mediocre games. So ratings drop. Those are your primetime slot games. So if you don't have a lot of competition, it's not fun watching. They're going to go watch some pointless television somewhere else. And Nick's still leading our NFL Pick'em.
Yep.
How many points am I behind you now?
3.
3 points?
4. You're 4 behind me.
It was like 7 or something like that, so.
Yeah, and behind me is Chris Akers with 3. So it's getting close. I had a bad weekend. I had a really, really bad weekend. So.
You missed the most games, didn't you?
Yes, I did. So I can't afford any more of that. I'm going to go back to how I was doing before all this and, make sure I keep the lead.
Yeah. Joe Namath slams Jets quarterback Geno Smith, former Mountaineer quarterback, as we know around these parts, for not returning after an injury. Now, he injured his knee, twisted his knee on a second quarter sack. And here's what Joe Namath said on Twitter. If you got a right knee injury keeping you out of the game, why are you standing on the sideline the entire second half? How bad can it be? Good point, but Geno comes back on Twitter and says, somebody tell Joe that the doctors have the final say on whether you can or cannot get back into the game, and also that I love him. So it's kind of a slapstick kind of comment back. It's like, hey, I can't really necessarily say something bad about Joe Namath because he's basically Jesus to the Jets. But I'll say what I feel, but then I'll add something nice at the end. Now, I saw CBS Sports. I got a notification on my phone that Geno Smith indeed is out for the rest of the season. I believe he's got an ACL or something. MCL, ACL, one of those. So he is. It was a very, very tough injury. Obviously, that's why they didn't bring him back in. Ryan Fitzpatrick finished the game, brought him back, got the victory over the Ravens. We'll get to some of his comments later on the show, too, and some of the things he did and said after the game, slamming the Jets organization, starting with the front office, the GMs and such, and the coaches. He's just crying. Look at this, too. Todd Graham. Now, remember, Mike Leach, we're moving over to college football. Mike Leach claimed that Arizona State, Todd Graham and Arizona State, were stealing signs from Washington State. And he said, I think they still signs, and we'll have to keep an eye on that. Talk about the Sun Devils. It's very unsavory practice they have, so we'll have to do what we can to defend against it. Mike Leach was fined $10,000 for that comment. Now, Washington State went on to beat Arizona State 37-32 this past Saturday night. Now, after the game, Todd Graham and Mike Leach, as most coaches do, meet at the center of the field. They exchange handshakes. They say whatever they could say. Here's what happened. Here's the exchange between the two coaches.
Okay, man. Hey, man, what you did and then who played this chicken shit. I've always respected you. You do that.
So there's Todd Graham saying, I've always respected you, but that was a chicken blank move. Gotta love that fight between coaches, though. That's what makes the game so fun. That fiery competitiveness between coaches. And Mike Leach has always been that guy that says things anyway. He just says everything he feels. Maybe at a point, though, because I don't trust Todd Graham one bit. I think that guy's a total liar. Maybe had to do with him coaching at Pitt. Moving over to the NBA real quick, then I know we got to go break. Warriors livid over a coward's comment from a reporter. Here's what happened. ESPN dropped a fascinating report story on Draymond Green. And the line he walks between pushing the Warriors to greatness and driving them off a cliff. There was a lot to take exception to. So here's the line that's in this article. Green is their most important player. Nobody replicates his set of contributions. As one team official puts it, the guys might be frustrated by his antics, but they had an opportunity to prove themselves without him in Game 5, and they played like a bunch of cowards. Now, this was supposedly a source inside the Warriors franchise. So, Klay Thompson was asked about these comments, I believe, earlier today at practice. So let's get to those.
That article pissed me off for this reason. If you're going to call someone a coward, how are you not going to put your name to that quote? You know, like, it's easy to point at someone and call them a coward but behind like a shade or a shield, you know? But why don't you put your name to it and then call someone, then you can call us cowards. That's fine, you can tell us that, but to say we play like cowards and you're not going to quote the guy who said it, that's weak to me, man.
Yeah, so there's Klay Thompson calling out this inside source that apparently leaked their own opinion to an ESPN reporter. To me, these type of articles and things that these writers, which, you know, I wrote some things and I'm still into the writing thing. It's just been a while since I've written an article. But the thing that, and we are still in the media, so the thing that irks me about some of these articles that these writers, so-called writers, decide to publish, it's almost like the kid who hasn't got a lot of attention, so then they got to throw some type of tantrum in a form of writing. You get what I'm saying? I understand controversy is something that starts conversations. It's what you want. When you write something, you want to impact people, whether it's negative or positive. You want to start a conversation. But what I think this whole thing sparked was a conversation that doesn't need to be said or brought up. The Warriors did the best they could in the NBA Finals without Draymond Green. Now, it was Draymond Green's fault that he didn't get to play. He should have went after LeBron James. He got suspended. So if anybody let the team down, it was Draymond Green. It wasn't everybody else. Nobody was playing like cowards. The Cavs outplayed them, and they were without their spiritual and basically their quarterback on the court. So it's not necessarily they're playing cowards. See, that's more of an opinion. You could have been better off taking somebody's comment off Facebook and putting an article. It's the same thing. It's an opinion. It's not fact. So for you to write around a certain comment and exploit that and put it out there on a national publication, well, that's what we call Bush League. All right, let's take a break. By the way, LeBron James, this is how powerful he is. This is how powerful these athletes are, folks. He said it'd be great if Cavs and Indians fans could get free ice cream because of all the things going on. The Cavs winning the title, Cleveland Indians on to the World Series. Well, Blue Bunny, ice cream, delivered some ice cream. Look at that. Come back, talk some college football. Mountaineers win over TCU after the short break. Brandon Lowe Show, 95 The Sports Fox.
You're listening to The Brandon Lowe Show on 95 The Sports Fox. Be a part of the show. Let the Valley hear your opinion.
You know, that's just like your opinion, man.
On the top sports stories, locally or nationally. On The Brandon Lowe Show, call 304-344-9704.
The Eagle's Nest Restaurant is a beautifully decorated restaurant at Little Creek Golf Course, open to the public for lunch and dinner every day. Enjoy a romantic setting for two or entertain an entire group. Choose a dish from the chef's own menu each day or enjoy the exquisite lunch buffet from noon to 2 p.m. Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Open to the public, Eagle's Nest Restaurant at Little Creek Golf Course in South Charleston. Search online or call for information and reservations.
The Ben Maller Show.
I know I can't do it like Ben do it.
Ben Maller.
When anything goes slightly haywire in Foxborough, what is the story? It's up, the Patriots are cheating. Well, Bill Belichick, he's having issues with the technology, the tablet in this case. There's no question the NFL, the buffoons who make these decisions, they went for the money.
The Ben Maller Show.
Overnight on 95 The Sports Fox.
Follow the show on Twitter at WBES Brandon Lowe. You can also listen to The Brandon Lowe Show on your TuneIn app or at 95thesportsfox.com. Now, back to The Brandon Lowe Show on 95 The Sports Fox.
All right, some interesting turn of events in college football this weekend. Of course, there were some blowouts. There were some good games. Most notably, OSU, Ohio State losing to Penn State. My stepdad, a big Penn State fan, has ties to the university, so he was really excited about that. That really shook up that whole top 10 in AP. Not a lot, but it allowed Michigan to move up past Clemson. You got Alabama at 1, Michigan at 2, Clemson at 3, Washington at 4, Baylor at 8, and West Virginia at 10. Talking about the Big 12, you got Oklahoma sitting at 16. If you look at how this thing is really set up, and all we got to do is keep winning if you're West Virginia. And you want Baylor to keep winning, too, because you want to set up a nice matchup in that last game of the season in Morgantown, December 3rd. But the unfortunate part is that the playoff committee is going to have a very, very tough decision to make. If you got a team like Baylor or West Virginia who's undefeated out of the Big 12, and then you got teams like Alabama, Michigan, Clemson, and Washington sitting at those top 4 spots when they all have conference championship games. So essentially, if West Virginia, if they're going to win, they need to continue to impress as far as getting these big wins, like 24-point win over TCU, a blowout victory at Texas Tech, holding these teams under their average as far as yards per game and points per game. That's impressive. You're going to have to do that to impress to maybe let you squeak into the top. That's the out of the Big 12. No conference title game, even though you got undefeated. Let's say Alabama, Michigan, Clemson, and Washington all and win their conference championship. What's that leave? Where does that leave the Big 12? And unfortunately for me, I think the honest answer or opinion is they'll be looking from the outside in. Unfortunately, this is where that conference championship game will hurt the Big 12. So luckily for us, it starts next year. So if you're a Baylor fan or West Virginia fan, you got to hope that one of those teams, as your team continues to win, if you want to get in that playoff, you got to hope Washington, Clemson, Michigan are point. The unfortunate part, too, about this is you got Louisville sitting at the 5 spot and Clemson at 3. I also believe if something would happen to the other teams outside of Clemson, ACC, you could potentially see Louisville still sneak in, Ohio State sneak in, because they still have that matchup with Michigan at the end of the year, as they do every year. So West Virginia sitting at the 10th spot in the AP Top 25. I love where the Mountaineers are. I love that everybody's playoff contenders because I certainly think they deserve some wins weeks, shutting down 2 very, very high-octane offenses. Football. West Virginia's offense turning into something different than just an air raid offense where they throw it 50 times a game. Dana Holgorsen has came into his own power style offense that he has put together, packages. He's taken advantage of a very, very good offensive line. Dana Holgorsen Mountaineer offense would hold the ability of doing exactly what Dana Holgorsen has asked him to do. Defense looked, again, extremely sharp, holding TCU to 300 yards, 3 sacks, 5 tackles for a loss, and 1 interception. It's funny how that 3-3-5, or that odd stack, how it works so well when you got guys that believe in the system. Those guys believe in the system. They play their position exactly the way they're supposed to.